I never expected that a routine day at my high school would turn into a battle with a teacher named Karen. Little did I know, Karen would confiscate my heart monitor thinking it's a phone. Here's how it all went down. It was a typical day at my high school, a place usually buzzing with the energy of students and the occasional drama that comes with teenage life. I was sitting quietly in the library, a sanctuary for me amidst the chaos of school life. The library, with its towering shelves of books and the faint smell of old paper, was my favorite spot to unwind and catch up on some reading. As I sat there, lost in a novel, I occasionally glanced at my heart monitor. It was a sleek little device, almost like a futuristic gadget, which I had to wear after my recent health scare. It wasn't exactly common, especially in a high school setting, but it was crucial for me. Suddenly, the tranquility of the library was shattered by a voice that was all too familiar in its shrillness. "Give me that phone!" the voice demanded, cutting through the silence like a knife. I looked up, startled, to see Karen, one of the teachers known for her strictness and, frankly, her unreasonable behavior. "It's my heart monitor, Karen," I responded calmly, trying to show her the device. "Don't give me that nonsense. I know a phone when I see one. You can't fool me. Using phones in the library is against the rules, and you know it." Karen's face was red with conviction. Her eyes narrowed in what seemed like a personal mission against electronic devices. "But it's not a phone," I insisted, my voice steady despite the rising frustration. "Look, it even has these medical symbols on it." I held it up for her to see, but Karen wasn't having any of it. "I don't care what fancy stickers you put on your phone, rules are rules," Karen snapped, reaching out to snatch the heart monitor from my hands. I tried to protest. "Karen, please, this is for my health. It's prescribed by my doctor." Her grip tightened on the device, her expression unyielding. "Enough of your excuses. I'm confiscating this. You can explain it to the principal later." I watched, dumbfounded, as Karen marched out of the library with my heart monitor in her possession. The absurdity of the situation was overwhelming. Here I was, a student with a genuine health condition, being accused of breaking a rule that I hadn't even come close to violating. The rest of the day was a blur. I was anxious without my heart monitor, feeling vulnerable and exposed. When I finally got the chance to explain the situation to the principal, he was understanding but equally baffled by Karen's actions. "Karen has always been a bit overzealous," he admitted, rubbing his temples. "I'll speak to her. You should have your device back by tomorrow." But the damage was done. The incident spread like wildfire through the school, with students and teachers alike discussing the absurdity of Karen's mistake. Some found it amusing, a typical Karen move, but to me it was a stark reminder of how quickly misunderstandings could escalate. The next day, Karen returned my heart monitor without a word of apology. Her face was stoic, her eyes avoiding mine. It was clear that admitting her mistake was beyond her capabilities. As I walked away, heart monitor in hand, I couldn't help but feel a mix of relief and lingering frustration. The incident had been more than just an inconvenience. It was a violation of my privacy and a blatant disregard for my health. Karen's actions, driven by her stubbornness and refusal to listen, had not only caused unnecessary stress, but also highlighted a disturbing aspect of human nature. Her inability to admit her mistake, even in the face of clear evidence, was both repulsive and provoking. From that day on, my interactions with Karen were minimal and cautious. I had learned a valuable lesson about the complexities of dealing with stubborn and unreasonable individuals. And as for Karen, well, she remained a topic of whispered conversations and rolled eyes, a constant reminder of the day she confiscated not just my heart monitor, but a piece of my trust in the reasonableness of authority. In the weeks that followed, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease whenever I saw Karen in the hallways. Her presence was a constant reminder of the power dynamics in school, where authority could sometimes overshadow reason. I found solace in my friends, who stood by me, offering support and understanding. They too were appalled by Karen's actions and helped spread the word about the importance of empathy and understanding in dealing with each other's differences. The incident with Karen taught me a valuable lesson about standing up for myself and the importance of communication. It also showed me the impact of stubbornness and the harm it can cause when wielded by someone in a position of power. As for Karen, I hoped that one day she would learn to listen and understand, rather than jump to conclusions and wield her authority without consideration. But until that day, I knew to keep my distance and protect myself from her unreasonable judgments. What a wild story. Karen really went all out with her misunderstanding. Can't believe she confiscated a heart monitor thinking it was a phone. Glad the principal sorted it out, but man, the damage was already done. Poor OP had to deal with all that stress. I never expected my boyfriend's gifts to be extravagant, but his lack of effort and understanding has left me feeling unappreciated. From video games to vacation photos, his presents leave me questioning his true feelings. As my birthday and Christmas approach, I can't help but wonder if this will be the breaking point. Here's how it all went down. We have been together since 2019. For our first Christmas together, I got him an Alexa with accessories to turn his apartment into a smart home. When he moved into a new apartment around his birthday, I gifted him a microwave, toaster, silverware, and other essentials. On his most recent birthday, I got him an at-home golf set because he had developed a recent obsession with golf. It ended up costing more than expected, but I was happy to give it to him. For our first Christmas together, he gave me a video game and the money he owed me. On my birthday, he got me another video game. Now, as my birthday and Christmas are approaching, on the same day, I bought him a signed Steelers football, as it is his favorite NFL team. However, when he revealed the gift he got me, I had to stop myself from crying. It might sound dramatic, but I couldn't help it. Earlier this year, he went on a solo vacation. As my birthday present, he printed pictures from his vacation and put them in a photo book. He gave this gift to everyone, including his mom, sister, brother, friends, and me. I had mentioned before that I did not want this gift, and I even told him I would hate it. However, he laughed it off. Since we started dating, I have been telling him that I like jewelry and would love it as a gift. However, he tells me that he hates going into jewelry stores. Recently, he even said, "You already have so much jewelry, why would I buy you more?" At this point, it feels disrespectful. After finding out my gift today, I told him to not get me anything at all. It genuinely feels like he doesn't care about me or my feelings. He often calls me materialistic because I enjoy buying things for myself. I fear that if I express my true feelings, he will just call me materialistic again. It's possible that I am materialistic, and maybe this is meant to be a sweet and thoughtful gift that I have unintentionally ruined for him. I bought him a signed Steelers football, and he got me a photo book with pictures from his solo vacation. A couple of people have been asking for an update, so I thought I'd just make a quick post. We broke up. My birthday party was on the 23rd, and he told me he'd be working the entire day. When I called him to check in, he said he got the day off and was going to spend it watching football with his friends. I reminded him about my party, and he said he hates going out and already promised his friend he'd watch football. I must have said, "But it's my birthday," in confusion like 10 times before he said, "It's not your birthday, it's just your birthday party, and I'm not coming." I told him that was okay because I was over it. I asked him how Christmas was going to work, and he told me he would stop by. He reminded me that he didn't get me anything because I didn't want his photo album, and he refuses to buy me jewelry. He then told me how much it hurt his feelings that I didn't want his photo book and said, "I've never met someone so inconsiderate." This is when we sort of started to argue. I told him that if the photo book came with something more heartfelt, then I'd appreciate it more. But I don't deserve the same gift being given to his coworker and his parents. I'm giving this gift to everyone that I love. Yes, I understand that, but you could have added a handwritten card or notes, literally anything. Also, yes, I said I like jewelry, but if you saw literally anything that reminded you of me, I would have loved it. I just want to know you care or thought about me. He said, "For my ex's birthday, I played her a song on the piano. I don't understand why you can't be that type of girl." I asked him how he would know if he's never done that for me. I didn't even know he could play the piano. My ex in high school played the piano for me, and I thought it was the sweetest thing. If he played it for me, I would have loved it. I'm not sure why he decided to bring up exes. He told me I was just trying to make him feel guilty, which he will never do. His words, not mine. So we broke it off. After I broke it off, he said it's probably for the best because he's looking for someone he can buy a house and combine his money with. I reminded him that I'm the only one with savings and also make more than him. I asked for the golfing set back and told him he could keep all the other gifts. He asked why and is now ignoring me when I text asking for a time to meet up and get it. He said it was stupid that I wanted it back. I do feel a bit guilty when I see videos of people receiving horrible gifts and pretending to love them, so I don't know how to feel. I definitely could have sucked it up, but I guess it was time for us to go our separate ways. The story highlights the frustration and disappointment the OP feels towards their boyfriend's lackluster gifts. It reveals a deeper issue of feeling unappreciated and uncared for in the relationship. The OP's attempts to communicate their preferences are dismissed, leading to a breakdown in understanding and emotional connection. Ultimately, the relationship ends with both parties realizing their incompatibility. It serves as a reminder of the importance of thoughtful gestures and open communication in maintaining a healthy and fulfilling relationship. Little did I know the gift I thought would bring us closer would unravel a web of betrayal and deceit. As the truth unfolded, emotions reached a boiling point, leading to a shocking confrontation. Here's how it all went down. I, a 25-year-old female, recently discovered that my ex-boyfriend, a 26-year-old male, had been cheating on me for 5 months. It was a devastating revelation, and I felt a mix of anger and betrayal, especially since I had bought him a new PlayStation 5 as a gift. I'd been saving a lot of money to purchase the console along with some games. We had been dating for 3 years and living together for a year and a half. As soon as the other woman messaged me to apologize, unaware that he had a girlfriend, I immediately kicked him out. Initially, I didn't believe her because I trusted my boyfriend completely, but she provided evidence in the form of numerous messages where he flirted with her and sent explicit photos. It disgusted me to the core. The worst part was when I confronted him about it. He didn't even attempt to deny it and instead insulted and belittled me, calling me boring and claiming that he deserved someone better. I was filled with rage, and for the first time, I slapped him. It shocked both him and myself since I had never been violent towards him and always sought peaceful resolutions. But his actions had pushed me over the edge. I started yelling at him, highlighting that he never contributed anything around the house and never paid rent because he was lazy and unemployed. He couldn't even be bothered to search for a decent job. At one point, I mentioned that he would never get to keep the PlayStation 5 that I had purchased, and he looked stunned. In that moment, he immediately changed his tune and acted remorseful. He began apologizing and crying, claiming that he had never intended to cheat and promising to make it up to me. It was all a facade. He was a disgusting pig who never truly cared about my feelings. He only cared when it affected something he wanted. The hypocrisy was sickening. Without wasting any time, I kicked him out for good. Despite his numerous texts filled with apologies and even a pathetic photo of him crying, I made it clear that he had no chance of getting the PlayStation 5. I blocked him and ended our relationship. As for the PlayStation 5, I don't need it since I already have one. However, I realized that my parents had planned to buy it for my little brother. The original plan was for them to purchase the console, and I would buy the games with an additional PlayStation Store gift card. I will now contact my parents and inform them of the change in plans for my brother's gift. Today was amazing. I celebrated Christmas with my family, including my parents and little brother. My parents cooked the best food, so I finally had a good meal after not having an appetite for a few days. It was wonderful. Regarding the agreement about gifts, we decided that I would gift the PS5 and games to my brother. My parents bought an Oculus and other accessories for his new PS5. When it was time for the presents, I was shocked to learn that my brother got me an expensive gift. He gave me some makeup from Sephora and a gift card. My parents then told me that my brother had been saving for my gift since the beginning of the year. I couldn't help but cry tears of joy and gave him a big hug. I thanked him profusely for the gift and told him that I loved it. When he opened my parents' present, he was confused because he didn't have a PS5 for the Oculus. I told him to open my gift, and when he did, he started crying and immediately hugged me. I don't know what came over me, but I started crying with him. I really love my brother. He's a sweet and well-behaved kid, and he's only 12 years old. That's why he deserved every gift he received. It may have been expensive, but seeing him happy was worth every penny. After we all opened our gifts, I helped him set up the PS5 in his room, and we played some games together. Suddenly he told me that he loves me and that I'm the best big sister in the world. For the third time, I started crying, probably because I'm on my period and my hormones aren't making it any better. So there you have it. I had the best Christmas with my family, and seeing my brother so happy made all the heartbreak I went through worth it. As for my garbage ex, he's still creating new Instagram accounts to apologize. I told him to fuck off because I know that he's only apologizing because he wants the PS5, not because he feels guilty. I mentioned that I gave it to someone who deserves it way more than he does. He started cursing at me, and I warned him that if he didn't leave me alone, I would report him to the police for harassment. He stopped after that, and I haven't heard from him since. After going through such a heartbreaking experience of discovering her boyfriend's infidelity, the protagonist found solace and happiness in the love and support of her family, particularly her 12-year-old brother. The unexpected gesture of her brother's thoughtful gift and their heartwarming moments together on Christmas reminded her of the importance of genuine connections and the resilience of family bonds. Despite the pain caused by her ex-boyfriend's betrayal, she realized that she was surrounded by people who truly cared for her. This story serves as a reminder that sometimes the greatest gifts come from the ones who love us unconditionally. When my entitled and homophobic parents warned me to never come out to my grandma, I believed them. But after years of hiding my true self, I couldn't take it anymore. So I took a leap of faith and wrote her a heartfelt letter. Here's how it all went down. I'm not sure if this story fits the entitled parents category, but I couldn't find a better place to share it. Please let me know if it doesn't belong here. I'm a 31-year-old woman, and when I was 19, I realized that I identified as queer. Unfortunately, my parents didn't react well to this revelation. My mom's response was a blunt, "So what?" Coming from a homophobic household, this was a significant step for me. A few years later, I was unintentionally outed to my dad, who expressed his love for me but made it clear that he would never accept that part of me. He even went as far as saying that he wouldn't attend my wedding if I married a woman. Though they have made some progress since then, it still feels like going from a 20% grade to a 40% grade. an improvement, but still far from acceptance. To illustrate further, whenever I ask my mom not to make homophobic remarks, she responds with, "Well, you know, OP, some of your father and my closest friends are gay, and I don't appreciate you attacking me." To which I reply, "Mom, did you really just use the 'I have gay friends' argument?" Throughout this whole ordeal, my parents repeatedly advised me to never come out to my grandmother. They claimed she was from a different time and that it would ruin our relationship. They warned me that she would gossip with the whole family, leading to my ostracization. For the most part, I agreed with them. While I don't know much about my grandma's political beliefs, as she keeps them private, I can assume they differ greatly from mine based on the news she watches and my dad's beliefs. Despite this, I'm extremely close to her, and the thought of underlying bigotry damaging our relationship terrified me. As for the rest of the family, I have little contact with them, so I couldn't care less about their opinions. After years of this, it became incredibly exhausting. I gradually started embracing a more masculine identity. I was a tomboyish kid until societal pressure pushed me towards femininity, cutting my hair and wearing men's clothes. My grandma began commenting on how I used to have such long, pretty hair and gorgeous dresses. These comments, along with my parents immediately assuming I was transgender when I cut my hair, and my mom expressing her fear of me feeling like a boy, deeply hurt. Over a decade of this wore me down until the facade was paper thin, and it became a don't ask, don't tell situation. Throughout all this, my parents continued to remind me, "You can never tell Grandma." Finally, I reached my breaking point. The thought of hiding my true self became unbearable. After several heartfelt conversations with my siblings, therapist, and friends, I decided to write a letter explaining my feelings. I made sure to approach it with kindness, giving my grandma the benefit of the doubt. Even though I doubted it would change anything, I felt it was important to at least open the door. A few days after sending the letter, my grandma called me. I was speechless for a moment before she said, "OP, love is not conditional. You can tell me anything, and I will always love you, no matter what. This changes nothing." I was absolutely stunned. For years, I believed that being honest would destroy our relationship, and that my parents were right when they said she would never understand. But she proved them wrong, and gave me the acceptance they never did. Typing this out now brings tears to my eyes, as I recall crying over the phone with her while she reassured me of her love. I also asked her to keep it between us, to which she exclaimed, "Of course, this is no one else's business." Since then, our relationship has grown stronger than ever, but behind all of this are my entitled parents. I had mentioned to my grandma that my parents told me she wouldn't understand, which shocked and hurt her. As I reflect on everything they said, I realized that they were projecting their own failings onto my grandma to make themselves look better by comparison. They come from a generation where they should have known better, but didn't. They claimed that being honest with my grandma would harm our relationship because it had with theirs. They said she would gossip and ostracize me, when in reality, they were worried about being gossiped about themselves, the family with the gay kid, and having to answer uncomfortable questions, or, heaven forbid, stand up for me. Furthermore, I know they gossip about me too. One of my siblings had to shut them down when they said, "I just don't understand why she gets so upset about this gay thing. Why can't she keep it to herself?" As if anything more than a safe-for-work joke doesn't cause my dad's eyes to glaze over for 10 minutes. I haven't told my parents that I came out to my grandma. It has been a few months now, and I am still considering how to approach it. While confronting them may not solve anything, it infuriates me every time I think about their behavior. This is just one unfortunate aspect of much more complex individuals. I love my parents, and they aren't as bad as they might seem from these descriptions. They have many good qualities and bring positive impact to those around them. I want to keep them in my life. After all, human beings are not black and white. We are all shades of gray. Sometimes, though, you just need to vent about the difficult parts. This story highlights the immense emotional toll that hiding one's true self can have on an individual. It also showcases the power of acceptance and love from unexpected sources. Coming out is a deeply personal journey, and while some may face rejection and prejudice, others may find support and understanding in the most unlikely places. It serves as a reminder that stereotypes and assumptions should never define or limit our relationships, and that love should always prevail over bigotry. As tensions rise between my wife and me over conflicting plans, I find myself torn between attending my son's important wrestling match or spending time with her friends who are visiting. Little did I know, this seemingly innocent choice would set off a chain of events that would challenge the very foundation of our marriage. Here's how it all went down. Hey everyone, I'll try to keep this short. My wife, 27, and I, 30, have been married for a little over 3 years. We each have a child from separate relationships, and we've been struggling with the relationship between my wife and my 7-year-old son. He lives with his mother about 2 hours away, so I don't get to see him very often. My wife's friend and her boyfriend are coming from FL to DC for a work conference and will be staying with us for a couple of days. During their visit, my son has a wrestling tournament, which is his first one of the year. When we were discussing plans and scheduling for when her friends are over, I brought up the tournament and asked my wife if it would be okay for me to go. She initially said it was fine and that I could meet up with them afterward. However, she has now changed her mind and doesn't want me to meet up with them anymore because I chose to prioritize my son's wrestling match over spending time with her and her friends. I feel terrible about this situation because I don't want to disappoint my wife, but I also don't want to let my son down. Does anyone have any advice on how to handle this? I will definitely be going to my son's wrestling tournament no matter what, and I will deal with any issues with my wife that may arise from that. I just want to be a good dad and be present for my son. I returned from my son's tournament on Saturday night, and everything seemed fine. We went out to brunch with friends and did some Christmas shopping after dropping them off at the airport. However, I was still bothered by a previous issue that I planned to discuss in our therapy session. Sunday started off well, but another problem arose regarding my son. We were discussing gift ideas for our families and decided that my son would pick out gifts for my side, while my stepson would do the same for his side. I called my son to ask for his ideas, but he needed some time to think. I decided to give him a day and plan to get the rest of the gifts during the week, as I needed to pick up a few things for my wife anyway. My wife wanted my son to know that day since we were already out shopping, but I explained that I would be going back out later in the week, so it would be fine. She insisted that he figure it out while we were out to avoid any schedule conflicts, and so that I could be home to handle things as usual. We compromised and agreed that I would call him that night or the next morning to see what he came up with. If he didn't have any ideas, we would pick out the gifts ourselves. I agreed to this plan. The issue arose when my wife misunderstood and thought I had agreed to go shopping on Monday, which is my day off for the week. I explained that I wanted to relax a bit on Monday since it was my first day off in 2 weeks. She expressed concern about me overworking myself, but asked if I could please do the shopping the next day to avoid coming home late on any other night. I tried to explain that I didn't want to make that promise, but I would take care of some things at home, and if I felt up to it, I would go out to the stores to finish the shopping. Occasionally, both of us have to stop at places on our way home from work, but it has never been an issue before. This is why I brought up my son, as I feel like it has become a big deal now, partially because of him. My wife wouldn't admit it, but that's just how I feel. We ended up having a huge argument over this, with my wife saying that she is constantly taking care of everything and I'm not there to help. As soon as I get home from work, I'm with my wife taking care of the kids. I didn't mention it before, but we have a 2-year-old son, making dinner, cleaning up, and taking turns putting our son to bed. It's all the normal stuff that needs to happen. By the time everything is done, I have to start getting ready for bed since I wake up at 4 a.m. I just feel like she brings up my lack of involvement with my 7-year-old whenever I try to do anything extra for him. After that, she shuts down and doesn't talk to me, which has been a common pattern for years. Anyways, my stepson had his first hockey game on Monday night. I wanted to make sure I attended for him, as it was important, rather than not going because of my wife. I ended up leaving our therapy session early. She didn't show up so that I could get to the game before it started. However, I had to leave early because the game started at 9 p.m. and was 30 minutes away. My parents were supposed to go as well, but they couldn't make it. My parents have a tendency to not show up to my stepson's events, but make sure to attend those of my 2-year-old and 7-year-old, which I have talked to them about. When I got home, my wife asked if my parents had attended my son's wrestling tournament, which made me realize that things were about to escalate. It was already late, so I decided to respond to her in the morning after getting some sleep. She ended up exploding with anger, calling my parents flakes and deadbeats, and accusing me of only attending my stepson's events for show. She said this because I have struggled to bond with him and show a deep interest in his activities due to the way she handles my 7-year-old. My focus has been on trying to be present at his events and supporting him by providing hockey gear and signing him up for special activities. I was just taken aback and lost my patience. In the heat of the moment, she brought up the idea of getting a divorce, and out of anger, I agreed. I have been prioritizing my son to the fullest extent possible. Lately, I have been feeling a lot of resentment towards my wife, and we have been arguing frequently, especially when it comes to the kids. I acknowledge that some of it may be my fault, but sometimes I can't help it. I am planning to have a conversation with my wife to discuss my needs and the changes that need to happen. If these changes do not occur, divorce will be inevitable. I must admit, I'm quite nervous about this conversation and unsure of the best approach. After hearing this heartfelt account, it is clear that the OP is facing significant challenges in their marriage due to conflicting priorities and unresolved issues. The story highlights the importance of effective communication, compromise, and understanding between partners, especially when it comes to parenting and shared responsibilities. Little did I know this seemingly innocent act would unravel a series of events that would test our relationship and challenge our understanding of trust. As tensions rise and secrets loom, I must navigate the delicate balance between loyalty and compromise. Here's how it all went down. I'll jump right into it. Let's pretend my husband's name is Jared, and my co-worker's name is Russell. Jared, my husband, and I work together. When I started, Russell trained me, and we've become good friends. While we are both heterosexual and of the opposite sex, we are strictly work friends. We never hang out outside of work. I've been out of training for a while now, but since getting married, Russell has been incredibly helpful in my career. He keeps an eye out for good positions and recommends me to higher-ups. Thanks to his support, I've been able to move up a bit in my current position, which I'm thrilled about. About 6 months ago, Jared and I got married and received numerous wedding gifts, which was great. However, we ended up with 2 coffee makers. We decided to keep the fancy one that grinds beans and makes coffee, using it every day. The other one is a Keurig that my aunt bought us. I hate to admit it, but I really dislike Keurigs. They're wasteful and the coffee isn't fresh. I didn't receive a gift receipt for it and it wasn't even on my registry. I'm not complaining, just pointing out that I didn't ask for or want it. It's been 6 months and Jared and I haven't even opened the Keurig box. I've suggested donating it since it's worth over $100, but Jared keeps dismissing the idea. He thinks we should sell it on Craigslist, which I said is fine, but he hasn't gotten around to it. The other day at work, Russell mentioned that he doesn't have a coffee maker and plans to buy one. I told him that I had one I wasn't using and that he could have it, but I needed to discuss it with Jared first. I admit I shouldn't have offered without talking to Jared, but I consider Russell a friend at this point and didn't think much of it. When I brought up the idea of giving Russell the coffee maker as a Christmas gift, Jared immediately rejected it. I'm confused and asked him why. The coffee maker is just sitting there collecting dust. Jared thinks it's an outrageous gift because it's worth over $100. I explained to him that it's perfect. We don't need or want it, and someone who has been incredibly helpful to me could use a coffee maker. Reddit, what should I do? I don't want to argue with my husband, but I feel like he's being unreasonable. I'd also like to add that there is nothing going on between Russell and me, and my husband is aware of this. We live and work together, so he would know if I were cheating, but he also knows I would never do that. Last month, while going through our list of Christmas gifts, I tried to find someone to re-gift the coffee maker to, but everyone I know already has a Keurig or a coffee maker. My husband and I are in an open relationship. We have a healthy sexual relationship and are not jealous of others. We view sex as something we can enjoy outside of the marriage. However, I would never jeopardize our relationship by getting involved with someone at work. Open relationships are not a free-for-all, and coworkers are off limits. My husband also has a female work friend whom he gives gifts to and frequently talks to. I spoke to my husband yesterday after work about the Keurig situation, but I have received several responses since then. When Jared and I got home, I mentioned to him that I wanted to discuss the Keurig matter again. He agreed. We sat down on the couch, and I expressed to him that he tends to procrastinate. I reassured him that I love him regardless, but pointed out that he often puts things off. For example, we have a whole dresser drawer filled with electronic items that he says he'll sell on Craigslist, but never does. My husband seemed sad. He doesn't like admitting flaws, but admitted that he does tend to procrastinate. Consequently, my husband agreed that it would be best to give the Keurig to Russell. We wrapped it up and spent the evening together with Russell so we could give him the Keurig. Russell is also an artist, and since we don't have any artwork on our walls, we recently moved, he offered to make something for us. Jared looked at some of Russell's work and thought he was really talented. Jared and I also made a new agreement. Any item, clothing, electronics, etc., that we haven't used in 6 months will be donated to Goodwill or a charity. No questions asked. As I mentioned in my original post, I used to have severe obsessive-compulsive disorder, which has improved but still requires daily effort. I dislike having clutter in our home, but my husband tends to hold on to things, so the 6-month time frame is our solution. It allows me to keep the clutter under control while preventing me from going overboard and discarding things excessively. I'm thrilled that my husband and I have addressed the clutter issue, which was a major problem, and also found a way to express our gratitude to Russell. And yes, my husband genuinely agreed to let Russell have the Keurig. It's a win-win situation for everyone. After reflecting on this story, it serves as a reminder of the importance of open communication and compromise in relationships. The initial disagreement over a simple gift turned into a deeper exploration of trust, values, and understanding. Ultimately, the couple was able to find a resolution by acknowledging each other's perspectives and finding a solution that worked for both of them. It highlights the complexity of human relationships and the potential for growth and understanding even in challenging situations. If you enjoyed today's stories, check out the other videos on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now or you're definitely the jerk.